Hi, it's Todd, and I'm talking about play by post today. What is play by post? Play by post is it's maybe more accurate to say playing by text, given the way it's sort of evolving. But essentially, it's when you're role playing and you're not instead of playing in person or even playing on video and audio, you're playing through typing out text messages. Originally, this was used a lot in kind of forums. They built forums up to play games, and they would be in you'd be writing a post on the forum, hence play by post. Now you have multiple different options. You can do the sort of original style playing on a forum, or you can also play in sort of more of a chat interface. I don't know if people played games on IRC. I never did, but certainly Discord is now a way that people play a lot of role playing games, not just for using it for audio, but also for just typing out text messages and using bots for doing roles and whatnot. So for me, playing by post is interesting because it's a great way to get into games when you may not have the time and the schedule to meet other people face to face, even virtually. When you're playing by post, it's generally an asynchronous type game. You don't have to post in a certain time. I have played actually some synchronous play by post games where basically there's a schedule and you're putting away those 2 hours aside to sit and play. But that's sort of a hybrid, I guess, the two systems. When you're really playing by post, you're really mostly talking about when you can play a game essentially at your own pace. There may be a schedule. Some games may say, hey, expect players to post every day or every other day. Some of them maybe even every week. But the idea is that you can post when you have the time to post, not necessarily at a certain time schedule every day. And so it's a great way to play a game or referee a game when you may not be able to find time to put away 2 hours or 3 hours, set those aside to sit down with meet space friends or online to play, but you can find 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 5 minutes at different times of day or night. You can find time to post, and then you can find time to play or run a game. There are multiple different play by post services. I don't think I've seen any that are pay. I think pretty much all of them are free. Tons of sort of the original old school sort of forums for playing by post. There's a couple of newer ones besides Discord, and then also a couple other ones that are taking on sort of a similar interface, which is more chat oriented. I'm going to look at a couple of them. One that's chat oriented that I don't play, and one that I use that is more forum oriented, and then you can sort of see how they work. Which one you want to use for your game or which one you want to use to participate in is going to come down a lot to your style. I think that different formats are going to accentuate different styles of play. I think some people find that forum posts tend to attract very sort of wordy, maybe veering into sort of purpley prose, lots of long, very prosaic paragraphs describing your actions and all these things. And it can be great. I think some people enjoy it because it feels like they're almost writing a novel and doing sort of a shared fiction. But it can also, sometimes I feel like it can just be very overindulgent when someone will spend paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs talking about their action and how their character feels and how this affects the world. And some people don't like that because it might take some agency away from another player. If one player is writing in their short story long post things that are happening, they may start to kind of take over parts of the world from the referee. It can be a lot to read, but it might appeal to you. It might not. I think that in a lot of the sort of play by chat type ones, because you're almost, even though they don't necessarily have fixed character limits like Twitter, I think you just end up finding yourself in a rhythm where you're posting shorter amounts of more direct, less descriptive, less flowery. You're posting faster. I think you tend to feel like a little bit you're on the clock because just like if you get a text message or a chat, you kind of want to reply to it and you get sort of a different sort of flow than when you're looking at it like you're responding to posts in a forum. So one of the first ones I'm going to talk about, let me switch over here, is Tavernkeeper. I'm not sure how long Tavernkeeper's been around actually, but this is the one that I use. This is actually the campaign that I run. As you can see in this dashboard, there's quite a lot going on. I don't actually use this view over much, but it kind of gives you a good just overview of everything that has. What I like about Tavernkeeper and about the forum style in general, which is kind of what I favor right now, is that I like the organization. On the chat type interface, everything's kind of in that sort of never-ending toilet paper roll of posts, and you kind of scroll up and miss stuff. And I feel like, and I haven't, I look at Rollgate, which is the chat style one that's kind of the new kid on the block, so to speak, and people seem to be enjoying. And I'm not sure how they've tackled that problem, but having used Discord to play, I find sometimes that you can get lost trying to catch up to the chat or trying to figure out where something was in the chat. And yes, you can pin things in chat, but I find the way pinned messages work in Discord is kind of annoying because you have to you look for pinned messages, but then you can't just click on a link, let's say from a pinned message, to go see a PDF of a map or whatever it is, a resource. You have to then click that, which then takes you to the location in the chat, and then you click on it, and then it can take you out, but at the same time you might be missing stuff because stuff's happening below, and you have to scroll back. I find it just a little bit inconvenient for the way I like to organize it. Whereas in Tavernkeeper, they've split it up into, you have a wiki where you can put all your information for your campaign, any kind of house rules, any other sort of world building you want to have. Roleplay is where the meat of the sessions will be, because that's where you're going to post kind of threaded conversations and role playing. You have a repository of all the characters, which will include NPCs that you can kind of take on the roles of when you're posting. And then they even have sort of a discussion area where you can have sort of out-of-character discussions. So just to take you in to show you the role play aspect. So I like to try to name things in a way that's very easy for everybody, particularly myself, to see all the different threads that are going. And I will usually... This campaign is sort of a hexcrawl, open world sandbox, and so a lot of times what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to organize things in ways that I can know, one, which sort of adventure, what I'm calling an expedition they're on, what day of the expedition is it, and what are they doing or where are they, that sort of thing. And that way, if I need to go and I need to call back something that happened, I can kind of think back, okay, they were on the first expedition, it was day 12, or they were on the first expedition and they were in this cave, and I can kind of use 2 out of the 3 pieces of information, or maybe even 1 if I only have 1, to find it. And I know that keeping this format that I'm probably going to get those things. I don't have to try to remember exactly a piece of text and then search on that piece of text like I would have to do in a chat. I would have to go in a chat and try to remember a word or turn of phrase that I used at that time, and then find that in the chat scroll, and then scroll up. Hopefully I got it exactly, or I have to try to scroll up and down. I have to try to find it. This makes it super easy for me just to, at a glance, I can just go down here and say, okay, I'm pretty sure it was here, click in there, and get it. The other thing I like is, unlike in something like Discord, you could store all your information in one place. If you have world building information in the wiki, you could store it in the wiki. Role plays go in the role plays, characters go in the characters. You don't have to link to all kinds of external documents. You don't have to link from this to a Google Docs to somewhere else to do everything. You can pretty much store everything here. I'll take you into one of the role plays so you can kind of see how that looks. Images is all just plain HTML. Their interface is a touch wonky for editing HTML, and you can see here we have all the different characters. The ones that are NPCs are marked, players are marked, and then it kind of goes in sort of thought, speaking bubbles and actions, whatever, go in here, and then, you'll see something like rolling dice will go in here. Now, the dice rolling is probably not my favorite aspect of it, because what you have to do is when you're writing a post, I'm just going to scroll way down here. If I'm writing a post, I want, there's a lot in this channel, or this thread, so it's going to keep. And one of the issues I would say with Tavernkeeper is it's slick and it's trying to load things asynchronously, but you get these weird things where it's kind of loading it as you're getting into it. It also doesn't have any ability to see when someone else posts. You basically have to refresh the page. And I would love if in a new version it would give you some kind of ping, hey, load the page, or just asynchronously load the next chunk if there's another chunk to show. Because otherwise you have to track on your own when there's new content. And I actually use a external to Tavernkeeper. in a Discord server that I'm a member of, I have actually a channel in there that I use for out of character stuff, because I know if I ping people on Discord, they'll get a notification, they'll check it, and then I'll prompt them to come here and do that. So obviously, if you're already playing in Discord, then you're already going to be getting those notifications, and that obviously is a benefit of that. And it's something that they could do. And Tavernkeeper, I wish I could just recommend it wholeheartedly without reservation, but as much as I use it and I appreciate it, it's a one-man band developer, and I know he's working on a new version, but it's also very slow, taking a long time. There's some things that are kind of broken, and it's nothing so central or major that I feel like it detracts from me where I'm ready to jump off of it. But if I'm someone who's just coming to it, it might give me a little bit of pause. When you see something else like Rollgate that's going to pop up that seems like it's under active development, it's new, it's fresh. In some ways, it kind of follows sort of where things seem to be going as far as the interface and things go. It seems like, oh yeah, let me go on to Rollgate. But I'm not there yet, and the little bugs and niggling things in Tavernkeeper that I don't like are not enough to dissuade me. But one of those things is the rolling dice. So if I was going to create an action here, and I wanted to say something happens, I can't know my dice roll before I've posted it. And actually, I like that for players. I like that you post what you're trying to do. Hey, I'm trying to climb this cliff. I'm trying to swing this sword. I'm trying to do whatever it is. And then you roll the dice. You're gonna put in your thing. Initiative 1d6. Whatever. Swing sword 1d20 plus 2. Whatever it is. You're gonna do all that. You're gonna hit it, and you're not gonna know until after you've posted it whether it's hit or not. And as for the player, I like that, because what I generally try to do as the referee here is I ask for everyone to put in their actions, put in their roles, and then basically I'll get everything for all the NPCs involved, any creatures that are involved, their enemies, and then I'll kind of adjudicate it, and I will write out a paragraph of everything that happened. So if all you have to do is put in, hey, I tried to swing the sword, do it. If you hit, I'll tell you that you hit, and you could put in multiple rolls, so you can put in your damage rolls and everything all together. I'll tell you if you hit, and then we can go from there. If you miss, I'll tell you miss. We can go from there, or whatever it is you were trying to do. But as the GM, sometimes I want to make one nice post that has some things, and sometimes in there, whether it's some kind of passive check, it could be, a check for secret doors, it could be a check for getting lost, it could be a random encounter roll. I'd rather be able to have all the rolls and then write the post than have to write, say, half the post, attach, look at the rolls, and then roll the next half. And what it ends up forcing me to do is it forces me to use external means to roll dice, so that I will roll dice outside of Tavernkeeper and then use the results and plug them into Tavernkeeper. And so these are mostly behind the screen rolls, or pretty much entirely behind the screen rolls. So it's not something that as a player you need to see, or I might not even want you to see it, but it still would be nice if I could just throw them in there, because once I've done them, right, the die rolls are less important than the results, and it just would make things easier. I actually started doing as kind of a hack, as I would actually find some post of mine, like say this one, and I would edit it, insert some die rolls, and then write my post down here, which is kind of it's a bit of a clunky hack. I wish they had another way to do with it. I know I read somewhere, I think, that, in the new version, they're going to change the way dice works a little bit. And from a player's perspective, I don't mind it at all as the referee. But as a referee, I wish there were some different options for me, because I think rolling dice and being able to do everything in here is nice. It avoids me either having to pull out physical dice or go get an app or go elsewhere. I've actually taken to just going in the Discord channel and rolling dice there, because I've just decided for most of these that I don't mind so much of the players see that I'm rolling. And as sort of a test, I'm wondering, does it add tension if I have a die roll, something might be coming, and I'm going to roll a die. Maybe that brings back a little of that live table when you're looking at the GM, the ref, and he's got the screen, or she's got the screen, and you hear that die rolling behind there, and you're thinking, uh-oh, something's happening, I don't know what it is. Maybe it adds that same tension. maybe it's a cheat because they get to see a little bit of what's happening. At the moment, I don't care. But I would have preferred if I could have done everything, inside of Tavernkeeper. And one of the other, probably the biggest issue I've noticed with Tavernkeeper, the one that's impacted me the most, though it doesn't impact me much, is that, but it's one that could cause a lot of issues when you're starting a game, is the way to invite, once you've created a game, the way to invite players to your game is a little bit broken. There are workarounds. I actually found one. I posted in their forums. So if you do go into Tavernkeeper and you need to invite players, it's covered. It's easy to do, and it's worked every time that I've needed to work it. But it's disheartening when you think of the main features of a game host is being able to invite players to your game. And if you can't get the players into your game, then that pretty much makes, it's a useless application. You might as well go on to something else. And that you have to work around it right now is frustrating. And it's something that's been broken for a long time, at least probably a year, probably more. I mean, a year. I think this campaign is going on almost 2 years. And I think it was pretty much broken when I started using it. So it was probably, who knows how long it was broken for. It's been broken for, and it hasn't been fixed. So that's something when you look at kind of a core, in my mind, important feature that just goes broken for so long, it's disheartening. But it is what it is. And I think given everything that Tavernkeeper does and gives you access to, one other thing I'll mention, I'm scrolling around a lot, but I like the fact, though I think Rollgate has this too, where I can go and I can change my identity. So here I was posting as the GM. I've got all these NPCs. I've got some monsters in there. I can pick one of those and post as them. It's a small touch because I usually start my posts with, the unholy bat does this, or whatever it is does that. But it's still nice that I can kind of, in a sense, get in character in the space, and that when the posts come out, the players can see it and they'll know, they can look at that and know exactly kind of who's acting, who's talking, who's doing whatever action. So it's a nice touch. So the other end of the spectrum, and I think I mentioned some of the other features, but I'll just show briefly just because I think they're kind of important, or at least they're important for me. I think I talked about that there's a wiki. And again, it's a little bit clunky. It's not the best wiki if you're looking at pure wikis, but you can lay everything out there. The roleplay, the characters. I don't use the out of character discussion much, but we have used it a little bit. Anyway, it's there. So, but that's pretty much Tavernkeeper. And there is a community. You can look for campaigns to join. Here, loading. Here we go. You could see ones that are looking for players that you can apply. So it does have sort of a way to get into games. If you like this sort of format and you just want to try it and you want to maybe just get in a game, there are plenty of games to be had. They also have forums where you can talk about games, talk about what's happening with the actual site, yada, yada, yada. So it's got a pretty good community and everything overall. So on to Rollgate. So Rollgate uses this sort of Discord, Slack, I guess IRC with a graphical makeover sort of approach, which is you're getting, a chat-esque or at least chat-looking game. Now, I don't have anything I'm running on here, so I am going to pick one, and we can check it out. One thing I can say right off the bat, just looking at this, I like this. I like this that it shows you the pace. One of the things with play-by-post, regardless of which type you get into, whether you're in it as a player or as a ref, it's very important to have expectations set over what kind of game you're going to be running. And obviously there are lots of those expectations. What system? What's the world like? But the big meta one that's going to impact everything is, what is your pace of play? Is it fast-paced? And fast-paced for a play-by-post might mean one post a day. It might mean managing a couple of posts a day. Slow-paced might mean a post every few days, post a week. And again, there's going to be a lot of fluidity in there because people's schedules are all over the place. That's one of the reasons why you're playing a play-by-post, is because your schedule's all over the place. And probably play by post is at the bottom of everybody's list of important things to get done in their day. Right? If you look at in a gaming perspective that you're going to have the most responsibility to a live game with people you know that's in person, and then some distance, probably a gulf of distance beneath that is the online game with people you know virtually that's kind of in person, then there's probably even a greater gulf beneath that, and then play by post. It is the easiest kind of game to get into. It's also the easiest one that people are going to forget. They're going to lose their momentum. They're just going to start to think, They're just going to, it's just going to get in the back of their minds, and they're going to blow it off for a few weeks and then just forget about it. Like, it is at the bottom of people's lists. So it is incumbent upon you as a referee to keep the sort of pace, whatever you've established, going, to kind of keep some kind of momentum. If you're a player and you enjoy playing in the game and you want the game to keep going, it is incumbent on you to try to keep that schedule and keep that momentum going, because the more momentum, the more that schedule clicks. It's sort of like, a wheel. It's going to keep turning. And then you might find over time, if you can get over that first hump, and I think that all these games, right, there's a honeymoon period of maybe the first 30 days, sometimes less, sometimes more. Everyone's into it. Everyone's excited. Everyone wants to play, and they love their characters. And then that honeymoon period ends, and then it can kind of turn into, it feels more like a commitment. And once it starts to feel like that, if you don't kind of keep up with it, you don't keep people energized, and if you're a player, you're not energized yourself, you're just going to run out of steam. It's just going to fade away, and you're just going to look back and go, oh yeah, whatever happened in that game? And then you remember to go back to check it, and it's dead. Or you're the GM and you're wondering where all your players have gone. So having a dashboard like this where you can easily see if you're going to join this game or whatnot, that, hey, this is a slow-paced game, we're going to be taking our time, or, hey, I'm expecting an average pace, whatever that is, I'm not sure yet, or, hey, here's a fast-paced one. The more you can make that stuff transparent to everyone and make sure that everyone understands those expectations, I think you'll find the players that will match up to what you're looking for, because there are going to be people out there who want a super fast-paced game, and if the game starts to flag, they're going to stop. They're going to fade away. There are other people who are going to be really excited to play your game or run your game, but they just cannot post more often than once every couple of days, every 3 days. So you're going to need and want to set up your expectations, or as a player, understand what your expectations are. Am I looking for a game that's fast-paced? Because I might think I want one, but then, work is busy, and I got to do this, and yeah, I'm going away for the weekend, and whatever. And you realize that you may have thought in your mind when you're excited that, yeah, I wanna post multiple times a day, but that when it really gets down to it, I can't post multiple times a day. So you have to know yourself as a player, as a ref, what you can handle, what really works in your schedule. Because these games, it's hard to put them on hold. I know someone, I talked to someone, they said, oh yeah, I've been in a couple games on hold and they've come back. It's never worked for me. It's never a good thing. If you're putting your game on hiatus for any long stretch of time, it's most likely going to die. And it can die just because people don't come back. It can die because if you're the ref, by the time it comes back, you're just not into it anymore. It's really tough. So you want to get the schedule that's going to work for you, that for the most part you're going to be able to stick with. And I feel like you get that momentum going. If you keep on it for enough time, then you can work through some slow spots. You could work through some spots that, hey, I'm on vacation for this week, I'm on doing this for a few days, whatever it is, and you can kind of grind through them, and you've got this sort of built up momentum that even though you're going uphill for the stretch, you've gone downhill enough where it'll work. And you can also get into times when exciting things are happening and people are excited and you are getting multiple posts a day, even if you never asked for it, because people are just so excited in the moment to play that things are just going rattling back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then they'll slow down, and then you'll get a speed up and they'll slow down. But you have to overall keep to your expectations, because that will attract you the players that are most capable of meeting those expectations, and then it will make sure that everybody's on the same page, and then you get in that rhythm. And once you're in that rhythm, if it varies here and there, that's fine, but you got to at least stick to the rhythm you set. If you say you're going to play fast, you can't let it just die and then post once a week and not say anything, because again, there are people who signed up for fast play. They're going to drop out. If you're a player and you wanted fast play, you're probably going to drop out. You're going to probably think this game is dead, it's boring, they promised this, they gave me that, do it. And as a ref, it's very easy, if that's not the pace that you want, for you to lose interest too. Once a week, it's a virtual thing. It's again, it's the first thing that's going to fall out of your brain when you're trying to keep up and trying to juggle a lot of stuff. Play by post, first thing that's going to fall away. So I was actually going to cover that later, but I got into it now. Anyway, so let's go back to Rollgate. Let's see if I can spectate this game. And so here you go. So you have a chat-based interface. I don't know offhand who different people are. Okay, I think maybe the white is dialogue and the blue is actions, which is cool. I like that. Again, I haven't used Rollgate before, so I apologize if I'm not coming across as super, super on top of all the features. Basically, it's just, for me, I'm using it as an example of sort of a chat-based interface, but it is cool to see it, so I apologize if I feel less authoritative because I'm taking a moment to look through this. But here you can see they have automated dice rolling, or not automated, but macros to basically roll dice, and it's like a chat. So if you like this style, this might be a good one for you. It looks like they have, I'm not sure if this is, I'm trying to see what else they have. I thought you could see characters and things through here. I want to say that this is probably the forum for them. So let's see what you get this leave game. Okay. So let's see what's down here. Okay. So there are kind of comments. I thought there was a way to see characters, but I see can't. So this is Rollgate. Looks like chat, pretty much acts like a chat. And again, like I said before, it probably will suit you best if you enjoy this sort of, you can see each statement, each bubble of an action is fairly short, fairly to the point, fairly direct, which I think is because it's kind of in that chat interface. When you get into forum posts, it's going to be long, it's going to be more flowery, maybe veering into sort of overly flowery, depending on your tolerance for such things or your desire to write and read those things. It might be a turn on, it might be a turn off, but you are going to get a kind of a different style. And then Discord, if you're familiar with Discord at all, it's going to be pretty much the same as this. There are tons of bots on Discord that allow you to roll dice and have all kinds of die rolling systems for different RPGs kind of built in. Very easy to get up and running, to set up a server, get a bot in there, and then play. I think the limitations of these, at least from what I'm seeing on Rollgate and kind of Discord, are sort of the same. It's that if you like the never-ending chat interface. For me, I like things a little bit more compartmentalized. I feel like I can organize it better. It just suits the way my brain seems to work with this a little bit more. Though I've played in Discord games and they're fine. If preferring one does not mean you can't enjoy another one. I probably wouldn't run a Discord one because that's maybe my main thinking, but playing in one, it's fine. There are just a few things about that format right now that frustrate me. Maybe things like Rollgate will improve and add in some of the features that Tavernkeeper has to make it a harder decision for me as to which one I want to use for my own games. But they're all good choices. So the main thing for play-by-post, now that you've seen sort of different ways you can run them and a little bit about how they work, is you can read advice, you can hear advice, I can give you advice on the way I run a game. You'll hear lots of things. The bottom line is it's the players and the referee, right? As a group, it's this group of the participants. That is by far the most important part of a play-by-post. If you have the right set of players, you can get through a lot of difficulties, you can work through a lot of things, and you can find a game that lasts a long time and is fulfilling, for everyone involved. If you get the wrong cast around you, and maybe you end up in the game that's not right for you, it's going to fail. And I don't think any advice can really save those games, because it's so easy to sign up for a play-by-post game. It's so easy to get in one that people are just going to sort of riff through and just join a bunch of games because why not, right? There's if you think that experiences on say on Roll20 or whatever playing virtually in-person type games are tough because people will drop out of Roll20 games, then like I don't think that's anything compared to probably the dropout rate and failure rate of play-by-post games. It's just so easy. Someone's just made up a username and thrown it on a forum, and then they get into a game, they don't like it, whatever happens, they forget their username, it's gone, and people don't care too much about it. And even I've seen people who have the best intentions. I've just seen games where I'm running a game with a couple players. We've taken that same group, tried to run another game, and that game's failed, even though all the participants are the same. There's just weird things that happen where the games just tend to die on the vine very often. And I don't think there's any formula that you can do for that. There probably are tons and tons of ways to ruin a play-by-post game, and I mentioned a bunch of those before, which I think is mostly down to being on top of your expectations, setting them, knowing yourself and sort of what expectations you really want and can keep. And then the other part of that is consistency. If your game is inconsistent, I think you're setting yourself up to fail. Just like in a Roll20 game, if your GM doesn't show up to half the games, you're not going to make it more than a couple of games. People are just going to get frustrated. They're going to think you're not taking them seriously. You're wasting their time. They're going to go find something else. And it's similar to play-by-post, but it's a little bit worse in a sense because there's no deadline. You can just lose track of it. You need to post, but you don't need to post by a certain date or a certain time. You don't actually have to physically be there. So I'll do it in an hour. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow in the morning. And then tomorrow morning comes, I'll do it in the evening. And then, it's very easy to just keep pushing it back. But if you do that, people are just going to forget. People are just going to let it go. And because there's no investment, no one's bought anything. No one's taken a membership to play. There's no face-to-face currency there where, I feel like if you know somebody in person, you're going to be less likely to just kind of dick them over. There's nothing like that. So the first cracks in the wall that things are not running sort of as they should or not running on time is people are just going to drop out. And you as a player, despite your best intentions, you may end up being the one that drops out. And as a ref, you can drop out. You can forget to post for days and days at a time. Then you try to come back to it, and players have moved on. I think that lack of big investment really makes it that the games don't have much value. You have to build that value through playing consistently, sticking to your expectations, and then hopefully running a good game and playing a good game. And if you can do those things, then play-by-post can be, I think, extremely fulfilling, and it can fill that gap that you may have, that your job, your work situation, your location doesn't lend itself to playing live or even playing in a virtual game. You don't need much to play a play-by-post game. I often will make updates to my game on my phone or my tablet, so I can be anywhere with a cell connection and a whisper of internet. I can play and I can post, and that's something that other platforms, obviously chat-like ones, are obviously can do that too. They're covered under the same umbrella, but you can't do that with Roll20, and you certainly can't do that if you have to drive an hour to play at somebody's house. So you want to use the fact that it's so easy to really enable you to play, and don't use it as something to make it seem that it gets so easy to play that you push it off, because that's the fastest way to get the games to die. And, hopefully the goal of these is so that you find a game that you can play. Now, all that being said, obviously, if you're going to get into games, a lot of them are going to die. You just got to keep plugging away and joining games, creating games. Don't take it personally. Don't take it on the chin if your game dies, because it probably has nothing to do with you. It probably has everything to do with whatever is going on in everybody else's lives. But if you can find that group and you can sort of be true to them and you can get their trust and return that trust, it's a great way to play. So I hope that this has maybe enlightened a little bit about play-by-post, or explained it if you maybe heard the term and never seen it. If you like this video, please subscribe if you have a chance. It kind of helps me out. And certainly if you want to support me even more, I have a Patreon I'll link to in the show notes. But have a great day, and I'll talk to you later.